Hello, welcome back.
Welcome back. I'd like to read about the Airbus 320 airline. But Wikipedia have changed how the computer voice. I cannot use my Adobe Acrobat to read loud from this Wikipedia PDF because it reads super slow. So I did install a reader in my Google Chrome. I did install a plugin. Now if I download this, I don't like to do it now, I can show it later. So I like to read this. So that's something I can still read, but now that's a plugin in the Google Chrome. There's a plugin in Google Chrome. So just read like this. So, but I don't know if that's copyright on this voice, this computer voice, and this plugin. If this voice have copyright, I don't know. So, but I need to go to my bed. Then I will make a video in my language, Danish. But I got many thousand old. My old PDF is still working. But when I'm reading on Wikipedia, I know I download a fresh copy. Like to read this.
Airbus A320 family. For other uses, see A320, disambiguation. For the series currently in production, see Airbus A320neo family. The Airbus A320 family is a series of narrow-body airliners developed and produced by Airbus. The A320 was launched in March 1984, first flew on the 22nd of February 1987, and was introduced in April 1988 by Air France. The first member of the family was followed by the longer A321, first delivered in January 1994, the shorter A319, April 1996, and the even shorter A318, July 2003. Final assembly takes place in Toulouse in France, Hamburg in Germany, Tianjin in China since 2009, and Mobile, Alabama in the United States since April 2016. The twinjet has a 6-abreast economy cross-section and came with either CFM56 or IAEV 2500 turbofan engines, except the CFM56/PW 6000 powered A318. The family pioneered the use of digital fly-by-wire and side-stick flight controls in airliners. Variants offer maximum takeoff weights from 68 to 93.5 tons, 150,000 to 206,000 pound, to cover a 5,746,940 kilometers, 3,574,320 miles, 3,100, 3,715 mi range. The 31.4 L, 103 feet, long A318 typically accommodates 107 to 132 passengers. The 124 to 156 seater 319 is 33.8 L, 111 feet long. The A320 is 37.6 L, 123 feet long and can accommodate 150 to 186 passengers. The 44.5 m, 146 feet, A321 offers 185 to 230 seats. The Airbus corporate jets are business jet versions. In December 2010, Airbus announced the re-engined A320neo, new engine option, which entered service with Lufthansa in January 2016. With more efficient turbofans and improvements including sharklets, it offers up to 15% better fuel economy. Earlier A320s are now called A320ceo, current engine option. American Airlines is the largest A320 operator with 479 aircraft in its fleet. In October 2019, the A320 family surpassed the Boeing 737 to become the highest-selling airliner. As of February 2024, a total of 18,460 A320 family aircraft had been ordered and 11,328 delivered, of which 10,630 aircraft were in service with more than 350 operators. The global A320 fleet had completed more than 172 million flights over 319 million block hours since its entry into service. The A320ceo initially competed with the 737 Classic and the MD-80, then their successors, the 737 Next Generation and the MD-90 respectively, while the 737 MAX is Boeing's response to the A320neo. Development, edit. Origins, edit. When Airbus designed the A300 during the late 1960s and early 1970s, it envisaged a broad family of airliners with which to compete against Boeing and Douglas, later McDonnell Douglas, two established U.S. aerospace manufacturers. From the moment of formation, Airbus had begun studies into derivatives of the Airbus A300B in support of this long-term goal. Prior to the service introduction of the first Airbus airliners, engineers within Airbus had identified 9 possible variations of the A300 known as A300B1 to B9. A 10th variation, conceived in 1973, later the first to be constructed, was designated the A300B10. It was a smaller aircraft which would be developed into the long-range Airbus A310. Airbus then focused its efforts on the single-aisle market, which was dominated by the 737 and McDonnell Douglas DC-9. Plans from a number of European aircraft manufacturers called for a successor to the relatively successful BAC 111, and to replace the 737-200 and DC-9. Germany's MBB, Messerschmitt Bölkow-Blohm, British Aircraft Corporation, Sweden's Saab and Spain's CASA worked on the Europlane, a 180 to 200 seat aircraft. It was abandoned after intruding on A310 specifications. VFW Fokker, Dornier and Hawker Siddeley worked on a number of 150-seat designs. The design within the jet study that was carried forward was the Jet 2, 163 passengers, which then became the Airbus S.1/2/3 series, single aisle, before settling on the A320 name for its launch in 1984. Previously, Hawker Siddeley had produced a design called the HS.134 Airbus in 1965, an evolution of the HS.121, formerly DH.121, Trident, which shared much of the general arrangement of the later Jet 3 study design. The name Airbus at the time referred to a B requirement, rather than to the later international program. Design effort, edit. In June 1977 a new joint European transport, JET, program was set up, established by British Aerospace, BAE, Aerospatiale, Dornier and Fokker. It was based at the then BAE, formerly Vickers, site in Weybridge, Surrey, UK. Although the members were all of Airbus partners, they regarded the project as a separate collaboration from Airbus. This project was considered the forerunner of Airbus A320, encompassing the 130 to 188 seat market, powered by two CFM56s. It would have a cruise speed of Mach 0.84, faster than the Boeing 737. The program was later transferred to Airbus, leading up to the creation of the single-aisle (SA) studies in 1980, led by former leader of the jet program, Derek Brown. The group looked at 3 different variants, covering the 125 to 180 seat market, called SA-1, SA-2 and SA-3. Although unaware at the time, the consortium was producing the blueprints for the A319, A320 and A321, respectively. The single-aisle program created divisions within Airbus about whether to design a shorter-range twinjet rather than a longer-range quadjet wanted by the West Germans, particularly Lufthansa. However, works proceeded, and the German carrier would eventually order the twinjet. In February 1981, the project was redesignated A320, with efforts focused on the blueprint formerly designated SA-2. During the year, Airbus worked with Delta Airlines on a 150-seat aircraft envisioned and required by the airline. The A320 would carry 150 passengers over 2,850 or 1,816 mi, 5,280 or 3,440 kilometers, 3,280 or 2,140 mi, using fuel from wing fuel tanks only. The -200 had the center tank activated, increasing fuel capacity from 15,590 to 23,430 L, 3,429 to 5,154 gal. They would measure 36.04 and 39.24 m, 118 feet 3 in and 128 feet 9 in, respectively. Airbus considered a fuselage diameter of the Boeing 707 and 727, or do something better, and settled on a wider cross-section with a 3.7 m, 12 feet 2 in, internal width, compared to Boeing's 3.45 m, 11 feet 4 in. Although heavier, this allowed the A320 to compete more effectively with the 737. The A320 wing went through several design stages, eventually measuring 33.91 m, 111 feet 3 in. National shares, edit. The UK, France and West Germany wanted responsibility over final assembly and its associated work, known as work share arguments. The Germans requested an increased work share of 40%, while the British wanted the major responsibilities to be swapped around to give partners production and research and development experience. In the end, British work share was increased from that of the 2 previous Airbuses. France was willing to commit to launch aid, or subsidies, while the Germans were more cautious. The UK government was unwilling to provide funding for the tooling, requested by BAE and estimated at £250 million. It was postponed for 3 years. On the 1st of March 1984, the British government and BAE agreed that £50 million would be paid, whether the A320 flew or not, while the rest would be paid as a levy on each aircraft sold. In 1984, the program cost was then estimated at £2 billion, $2.8 billion, by Flight International, equivalent to £7 billion today. Launch, edit. The program was launched on the 2nd of March 1984. At the time, Airbus had 96 orders. Air France was its first customer to sign a letter of intent for 25 A320s and options for 25 more at the 1981 Paris Air Show. In October 1983, British Caledonian placed 7 firm orders, bringing total orders to more than 80. Cyprus Airways became the first customer to place an order for V2500 powered A320s in November 1984, followed by Palm with 16 firm orders and 34 options in January 1985, and then in Exadria. One of the most significant orders occurred when Northwest Airlines placed an order for 100 A320s in October 1986. Powered by CFM56 engines, later confirmed at the 1990 Farnborough Air Show. During A320 development, Airbus considered Propfan technology, which was backed by Lufthansa. At the time unproven, the technology essentially consisted of a fan placed outside the engine nacelle, offering turbofan speeds and turboprop economics. Ultimately, Airbus stuck with turbofans. Power on the A320 was to be supplied by 2 CFM565A1s rated at 25,000 lbf, 111.2 kN. It was the only engine available until the arrival of the IAE V2500, offered by International Aero Engines, a group composed of Rolls-Royce plc, Pratt & Whitney, Japanese Aero Engine Corporation, Fiat and MTU. The first V2500 variant, the V2500A1, has a thrust output of 25,000 pounds-force, 110 kN, hence the name. It is 4% more efficient than the CFM56, with cruise thrust-specific fuel consumption for the R5 at 0.574 and 0.596 pound/lbf/h, 16.3 and 16.9 g/kn/s, for the CFM56-5A1. Entry into service, edit. In the presence of then French Prime Minister Jacques Chirac and the Prince and Princess of Wales, the first A320 was rolled out of the final assembly line at Toulouse on the 14th of February 1987 and made its maiden flight on the 22nd of February in 3 hours and 23 minutes. The flight test program took 1,200 hours over 530 flights. European Joint Aviation Authorities, JAA, certification was awarded on the 26th of February 1988. The first A320 was delivered to Air France on the 28th of March, and began commercial service on the 8th of April with a flight between Paris and Berlin via Dusseldorf. In 1988, the clean sheet aircraft program cost was 5.486 billion French francs. Stretching the A320, A321, edit. Main article, Airbus A321, development. The first derivative of the A320 was the Airbus A321, also known as the stretched A320, A320-500 and A325. Its launch came on the 24th of November 1988 after commitments for 183 aircraft from 10 customers were secured. The aircraft was to be a minimally changed derivative, apart from minor wing modifications and the fuselage stretch itself. The wing would incorporate double-slotted flaps and minor trailing edge modifications, increasing wing area from 124 m. 1,330 square feet, to 128 m, 1,380 square feet. The fuselage was lengthened by 4 plugs, 2 ahead and 2 behind the wings, making the A321 6.94 meters, 22 feet 9 in, longer than the A320 overall. The length increase required enlarged over-wing exits, which were repositioned in front of and behind the wings. The center fuselage and undercarriage were reinforced to accommodate an increase in maximum takeoff weight of 9,600 kilograms, 21,200 pound, for a total of 83,000 kilograms, 183,000 pound. Final assembly for the A321 would be, as a first for any Airbus, carried out in Germany, then West Germany.